Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo, with your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, guys, what is going on? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening, for following, subscribing. I appreciate y'all very, very much. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. The Buffalo Bills laid one on the Jacksonville Jaguars on Monday night. For that, and I got Joe from Queens with me. Going to have plenty to talk about with the Bills today. If you watch us on YouTube, or if you don't follow me on social media, you hopefully have noticed that there has not been a show on for the last 2 days. This is a weekday show, and I went more than a year now without not having a show for consecutive days anyway. Saturday night, I had a gathering with a bunch of friends at the house and had a really good time, and I woke up on Sunday morning, and I was feeling like shit, and I attributed it immediately to having a hangover. So I did all my typical, and I'm pretty experienced at this, hangover things on a Sunday morning. I took the long hot shower, popped some ibuprofen, had a nice big breakfast, and I expected in the next hour or so, my hangover symptoms would go away. I popped myself on the couch, watched a little NFL Red Zone, was getting ready to hopefully go to a birthday party for a friend later on that Sunday. Anyways, the day went on. I just got worse and started feeling feverish, dizzy, headaches, you name it. I felt it, sore throat, coughing, sneezing, all the other shit. And my friend texted me at like 8 o'clock. At this point, I knew I didn't have a hangover. So I'm like, I got the flu. I've tested for COVID, I swear to you, probably 20 to 25 times over the last 3 to 4 years or so. And I've tested negative every time. I mean, I've been in the hospital thinking I had COVID. I have COPD, which makes things worse. But anyway, it was just the flu every time. So I was talking to the friend who she texted me about not showing up to her party, busting my balls a little bit. Told her I was sick. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I felt like death all day. And she said, well, why don't you take a COVID test? I never even thought of it. So I did. And it tested positive. My son came out and we did a second test and it came positive again. So long story short, I got COVID. I have COVID right now. I feel a little bit better than I did Sunday. I was unable to do anything on Sunday or right after the game on Monday night. I got the mute button handy here. I got some stuff off to the side, but hopefully we'll get through this. Again, my man Joe from Queens is with me. How's the last couple of days for you been going as you pop a beer here live on the video side? By the way, how you doing? What beer you got there?
I'm living the dream. I'm just relishing the Bills. Marge Simpson got some nice Chanel suits, I would say, in the last like 3 weeks. But I am drinking a Whitman. I've drank this before on the podcast. It's I Hear America Singing New England style IPA. So we will find out if America is singing while I'm drinking this. But yes, overall, I'm sorry you got COVID. I'm sorry that you're not going to be able to talk as much on this podcast. I'm also sorry to the video people because Pat's going to have me on screen more than normal. Which is an improvement because Pat, he takes the heat off of me, or I wouldn't say the heat. No, what would be the good wrestling? He's like the anvil to me being Bret Hart. Like he's just like, his ugliness takes away from my good looking. That's good looking. Like so, it's just like So everyone gets to see me a little bit more on the full screen. May pick my nose. I didn't do my hair for you guys, but I wore a Star Wars shirt, which is like the Han Solo. I know. So there you go. I know you don't like Star Wars, but I won't jump off too much because I know I don't want you to waste your voice talking about nonsense. So yeah, the Bills are good. You bust
my balls all the time about how important this podcast is to me.
Oh my God.
And so you could have, if there's anyone besides my wife who could probably imagine accurately how demoralized and annoyed and even distraught I was to not be able to do a live show after what the Bills did to Jacksonville on Monday night, it would be you. The good news for you is you are going to be doing a lot of talking today. I'm trying to really pace myself here. Nate Gary probably holds the record for the most words spoken on a podcast as
He
a
would
guest
do that. That woke WGR host over there. But yes,
I think that you might challenge him on this day. Hopefully, we'll get through this stuff.
I will. And mind you, everyone, Pat had to talk to me for 15 minutes beforehand. I was like, Pat, why are you talking? Save your voice for this. But Pat's very happy to be back, and we'll have the least amount of listeners probably ever because it will be mostly me talking, and that's it. So yeah, let's roll, buddy.
All right, yeah, I got the mute button ready to go. I got a couple other cutaway things just in case. By the way, one quick caveat too. Then we're gonna the rest of this.
All these caveats. Go with the caveat.
There's one caveat of being sick right now is I've been wanting to watch that Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix that's actually dropping overnight. By the time you listen to this on the audio side, you will that'll be out. It's on Netflix, 6-part series, limited series, and I am going to literally binge watch every single episode within the first 9 hours of that being released. I didn't think I was going to have time. Who knows when I was going to be able to, but I'm going to be able to find the time for that.
I had one person once. I'm not going to say who it is, who says you constantly are watching Netflix, binging TV shows constantly. So this isn't that big of a deal. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to be binging. Like you always binge. You're the worst employee I've ever met because like
that's not 70%, true.
70% of your time is dedicated to this podcast. The other 25% is dedicated to chicken wings, and the 5% is dedicated to pandering. And then
that's all 100 right there, though.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, so we'll do another.
That was accurate. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that was very actually the pandering one definitely is more like 10%, 15. So.
I used to binge watch things all the time. I just don't have since this has went daily and other things in my life, I just don't have time to really binge stuff anymore, but I will with this. Anyway, all right. So let's dive in here. The Buffalo Bills Monday Night Football, just a throttling of Jacksonville, 47-10. I planned on having you. I'm going to trust you here, to be honest. Okay. I don't know if you I was down for the count all day Monday. So I don't even know if you tweeted anything. The initial plan was you and I were going to do a Monday episode with kind of a preview episode, talk about the game, a primer, talk about stuff around the league, and then our predictions. Actually, I had a prediction on Friday, so I was going to get your prediction.
Sure.
I'm sure you didn't have it 47-10. I don't know anyone who did. But
I can tell you what I had it.
I trust you.
I had it, and I tweeted it out. 17-14 Bills. So I thought, yeah, I was really, I was off by about 30 fucking points.
Well, it tied for the 4th largest margin of victory in team history.
Yeah.
6 different dudes scored a touchdown for just the 3rd time in team history, and 10 different guys caught a pass by like minutes into the 3rd quarter. I don't think anyone really saw that coming. And to be fair, there were a lot of reasons to not see that coming because they're playing a team that they have not played well against since Sean McDermott took over, and they're on 11-day rest. You know what I mean? You come out a little flat. Jacksonville was desperate. They needed to win this game and not go to 0-3, and just an ass whooping, man. Where do you want to start?
Oh, where do I want to start?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have a little bit of structure, but
you sent me a rundown of
the most.
You know what? I would say going into this game, and while I was watching it, I felt like this was the Titans Bills from 2022, when like the 2 previous years the Bills lost to them, and you kind of felt like the Bills are better than this team. Why are they losing to the Titans? And then on Monday Night Football, just like the other night. What was it? Week 2 in 2022, they crushed them, like obliterated them off the face of the fucking earth. And the Titans haven't been heard since. And that's kind of how I felt watching this game. Like, that would be great if this is like that. And that's exactly what it was. It was an ass kicking, not kissing. But the Jags probably wish it was an ass kissing. But they got their asses handed to them. And it was awesome. And I think the thing I came away with that game is, like, for the last 10 days or so, give or take, the Bills, their passing game.
I lost you real quick there, buddy.
Oh, sorry. Are you there? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Sorry. All right. So the last 10 days or so, been kind of waiting around for the Bills to do something. And then, their passing game was the one thing I was like, it's it's been fine, but it's not been needed, in the first 2 games. It just hasn't been needed because they've just been wiping the floor. Like the Miami game was done at halftime. The Cardinals game was really the second half they came alive. And I was like, can I get like a good passing game? And they delivered that in the first half when they obliterated them. And that's what I took away from them. Like, this team can still throw the football. It doesn't have to be James Cook 30 times or 20 times. And we don't have to hear constantly about like playing your safeties deep. I'm sure that's a factor, but like
They were throwing it all over the place in all different formations. They were throwing it in 12 personnel, 13, 3 tight ends, Alec Anderson in the game, throwing the football. Yeah, you're 100% right, man. To me, this is a team that's better than pretty much everybody thought. The losses from last offseason that we spent, not necessarily you and I, but most people spent so much time lamenting is those are turning into paper losses, I think. Guys that just really ain't that great anymore, like Jordan Poyer. And I like Jordan Poyer, but he's not that good anymore. We watched him play 2 weeks ago. What did he do? What did Mitch Morse do Monday night? What did Gabe Davis do Monday night? Trey White has been getting murdered with the Rams. He looks like he came the first time he came back after the first injury with the Bills. He's just not there. Micah Hyde's still retired, probably at this point going to stay retired, man. This team just lost a lot of guys on paper, and you would assume that it would be easy to assume that they were going to take a step back because of that, and especially Stephon Diggs, he's still a great player. Stephon Diggs is still a great player, but
4th in the league in catches still.
Yeah, right? Although a lot of those on Sunday were bullshit
garbage
catches. Garbage stuff. But I'm not going to take that away from him being a great player. He's still a high-level receiver, but it's possible, Joe, and I'm realizing this. This offense is clearly thriving without him. It's possible that both things could be true. Stephon Diggs is still a great receiver, but the Buffalo Bills offense is better because he's not here, and they just have a different mentality and philosophy. And so far through 3 games, it's clearly working.
Through 3 games, yes. I'm not ready to say that long term yet. But after 3 games, yes, you can't deny it. Like, the offense looks great. They're spreading the ball around. I will say this, like, the 10 guys catching balls against Jacksonville, like, it's happened like a couple times this year already. I think every game it might have happened. And it's something that's happened before. Like last year, I think Jeremy White had the stat. Like last year, it happened 7 times when 9 players caught at least a pass, which it's happened. But I will say this. The guys making these catches, these aren't like Trent Sherfield making a 1 yard catch for fucking 3 yards like he did last year, or Hardy or whoever. Like guys that like everyone made like a substantial catch. It felt like Keon Coleman, he didn't. We'll get to him later, like in terms of him not playing the first quarter, but he had 1 catch. But it was a big play. It was a touchdown, and it was a great route, and like it was something that they had run in practice, I guess, for most of training camp. Like, these are catches that matter. And that's the key. It's not like, I know everyone eats and all that shit is great. It depends what you're eating. Like, if you're just eating a fucking piece of celery, who gives a shit? But if you're eating like a chicken wing, or you're eating like a decent amount of yards, it's good. And that's what I felt they've been doing, is like their guys are catching stuff that's important. And that's the key. That's not, but that whole thing, I have to give full marks to Brady. Like, that was a beautifully called game. Like, I was watching it like in the first half, and I'm not an X's and O's guy. Like, I was thinking about what we saw with Ken Dorsey, and Ken Dorsey it was like a Tecmo Super Bowl where it was like you lined up, there's no motion, go deep. All right, cool. I used to do that in 92 Tecmo and kick ass, but you can't do that all the time in the NFL. And you've seen all this pre-motion and all these guys, like, the misdirection, like to like Cook in the backfield, even though the drop that Cook had, that was a beautifully designed play. And like all of these plays are just like, I'm like, this is awesome. And like, you don't know who's getting the ball, you don't know, and it's misdirection. And I will give him credit. And I said prior to this season that for the Bills offense to take off, to me, Brady had to be like a savant. He had to be like an X's and O's king. And so far, I've been super, super impressed. with what he's done. I think that's a big reason, aside from Josh Allen, obviously, but a big reason they've clicked the first 3 games.
Yeah. I saw a stat. I can't attribute it to who it's from, so I apologize. But the Bills have ran motion 80%, 80.4% of their snaps this season, which is top 5 in the NFL. And last year, they only ran motion 60%. So they're running motion so far through 3 games 20% more than previous years. To me, the coaching and the cultural difference between the Bills and Jacksonville was just so evident in this game. And especially going back and rewatching it, X's and O's are one thing, and I think you're spot on, man. That's apparent. The way Joe Brady has dialed up these plays, the way Bobby Babbitt is calling some timely defensive calls too, has really worked. But there's and I know this sounds corny at times, but I believe it now, and I believe it now more than previous years. There's a passion and an energy right now that the Bills are playing with that their opponents, at least their last 2 games, Miami and Jacksonville, have not even come close to matching. I mean, God, did Jacksonville look lethargic, like they were just ready to keep getting punched in the mouth, no fight in them. Watching the game back, you could see some pass rushers just getting tangled up with Brown or Dawkins and basically turning their back to him and just surrendering, man. We talked about it after the Miami game. Props to McDermott for going forward on 4th down on the first drive. He went forward on 4th down twice in the first quarter, man. I don't know, it's a better coach football team than Jacksonville, just like they're a better coach football team than Miami. There's an energy. We'll talk about the fans and the home crowd in a little bit too, but
yeah,
do you agree with that? Like, there's just a passion. These guys seem like they brought it up on the broadcast, and I agree with it, actually, Reddick and Overowski. Guys look like they're out there playing football and having fun like kids, and I feel like it's contagious on this team.
No, it is. I mean, I don't know if you saw this earlier, but someone had a video of they were playing Mr. What's the fuck is it called?
Mr. Brightside.
Yeah,
I hated that. I said I hated that song in the summer, but I might take it back. It's growing on me, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, you're so old. Oh, that's a good song. That's a great song. But like they were, Dalton Kincaid was doing like an air guitar, and everyone was singing like between breaks, and yeah, they look like they're having a lot of fun, and that's awesome. Obviously, for the teams they played, Jacksonville needs to fire their coach. I mean, Doug, they have a lot. Look, Jacksonville has talent. Like, you can't deny it. You have all those first round picks, and they're a talented team, but a lot of them. And Doug Peterson, it's becoming a little bit like Philadelphia, but like a poor man's Philly, where he comes in and he was great, like he won a Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden they just start hitting walls, and then it's like, what the hell happened to this guy? And they've lost like Trevor Lawrence has lost like 8-9 games in a row or something like that.
He's lost 8 in a row, and it's the second time in his career he's had a streak of at least 8 losses in a row as a starter. We're going to talk about him specifically in a minute, actually, because him and Josh, Jesus, man.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that now if you want. I feel like, I think of Trevor Lawrence as a guy who's like, he was one of those guys coming out of college, like, you suck for Trevor kind of thing, like coming out, like he was supposed 100%. To be the next one. And since he's been in the league, he's been okay. And that's where I'm like, you need a different offensive system, I think, for him. And, he's just okay. Like, and for the first pick in the draft, like, you're hoping him to be like the man, not just, okay, yeah, he's fine. Like, he'll get you 9 wins normally, I guess. But like, he's not even in the same stratosphere as Josh Allen, and that contract that Josh Allen signs is like, it's getting with all these, and we've talked about it, like the timing means everything for when you get that big fat quarterback deal. But the Josh Allen contract looks great in comparison to everyone else, and he'll get a new one soon, and he'll earn that because of how good he's been.
Look, I watched, and I'm still in the process of watching it back again. I'm not trying no hyperbole here. I literally been sleeping on off, but I've been watching this film. Everything you said about Jacksonville is right. Just feels like they got so much wasted talent between Lawrence and Travis Etienne's a first round pick.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas Jr., God, he would look good in a Bills uniform, that first round receiver. Gabe, Kirk, their pass rusher, Trayvon Walker, the first overall pick in the draft, Josh Hines Allen, another top 5 pick or whatever he was. Yeah. And that's all true, and they're all underachieving, and that's the coach, and that's an organizational failure. But quarterback-wise, man, there were plenty of plays where there was a receiver open. Like the DeMar Hamlin interception, the Bills were not barreling in on Lawrence. It was just a god-awful throw. He short-hopped a couple throws.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's that good. And it's crazy to me. You could talk about the difference with McDermott and Peterson or just these organizations, but it starts with the quarterback, man. It's just crazy how much better Josh Allen is. Josh Allen played about as good as a human being could play in that first half. 22 of 28, 247 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdown drives, ran for 22 yards. All the touchdown passes were perfect throws, too. It wasn't like a wide open guy standing in the end zone by himself. 9 guys caught a pass in the first half alone. Aaron Quinn, I'm going to give our buddy from Cover One a little bit of credit here. He said, well, Josh Allen is hitting his prime mentally. He didn't really uncover that. Everyone could see that right now. He's just mature and he's playing smart. And you're a Marvels guy, MCU dude. Aaron Quinn said it's like he got the last Infinity Stone.
Sure.
Josh Allen has all the way he's looking this year by taking profits on plays and not making stupid throws and decisions. It's like the mental part now. It's the last Infinity Stone. What was it called? The mental? I don't remember.
I don't remember the stone name.
But he's got it. He's got that last stone right now, and he's like Thanos with that last stone. That's what he looks like in the first.
Maybe you could,
games.
I'd even say maybe like Neo from the Matrix to really date myself. Like when Neo figured it out at the end when he fucked up Smith. I don't know if you were a big Matrix fan.
I don't know that.
You never watched the Matrix, dude?
No.
What?
No.
How'd you not watch Matrix? You watch everything.
I'm out of. Dude, isn't Keanu Reeves in that? Keanu Reeves is whack.
No.
I'd rather have COVID for 20 years than watch Keanu Reeves movies.
Bro, whoever's like, you need to watch Matrix, okay? Like that's something you gotta binge, okay? Like, anyways, that's why I would say Josh Allen's at. He's in the final act, but he's been different this year in terms of like underneath passing. Like he's right now, I think I looked this up on StatHead. He's the #1 rated passer on throws that travel less than 10 yards through the air, which is something he never really, he's done it before. Like Cole Beasley, they did a lot of underneath stuff, I would say in 2020, 2021. But like, that's what he's been doing. They haven't been stretching the field all that much in terms of like your classic, like, oh, we're going to throw 25-yard outs or whatever. Like they haven't really done that at all, but it's just been, everything has been underneath. And that's something he, as I said, he didn't really do that much. And that's something, a new, part of his arsenal. And, he's not look, if you're one of those people who cares about turnovers, I never really was, because I was like, hey, this is how he is aggressive, but he hasn't committed any turnovers this year. Oh no, the fumble he did in the first week, but that's
the fumble in the first quarter of the first game.
Yeah,
he hasn't thrown an interception or come close to throwing an interception yet.
Yeah, exactly. So he's been much better at that. But it hasn't been conservative, and that's the good thing. Because look, Josh Allen could easily cut out his interceptions if he wants to. It's called like you don't throw the football all that much, or you're just really conservative and you're throwing checkdowns. He's still throwing it like a bat out of hell and like making some clutch throws, and that's what we like about him is he's evolving and he's got a different game to him. And look, he obliterated that game. Felt like I said, like it felt like the Tennessee game on that Monday night. It also felt a little bit like the New England Patriots wild card game where he was just in a zone and everyone else was just doing their thing. But I was impressed with him a lot, and I was impressed with Shakir. Shakir's your boy. You've been pumping him up.
5th in the NFL right now in yards after catch. 5th in the whole NFL. He's only got 1 less yard after catch than Tyreek Hill right now. He's 5th in the NFL, and he's caught 14 passes on 14 targets, man. He's Cole Beasley. I said with an extra gear, he's Cole Beasley with several extra gears, man, because he'll make you miss and he'll
break
get in
some
the end
tackles
zone.
And he'll break tackles. He's really good over the middle. He's been great. It's funny, like, with the spreading the ball around. I was looking up Shakir's numbers, and like the Bills don't have a wide receiver in the top 20 right now. Like Shakir he's 20, I think he was 23rd in yardage and 29th in catches. And look, there's reasons for that. They freaking have been benching their guys in the third quarter.
They've protected 3-score leads in back-to-back second half.
Yeah. So but it's just like, that's just how it is. It's been kind of amazing how their offense has been moving. They got Dalton Kincaid. Last night was a good Dalton Kincaid game, and he hasn't really done much the first 2 games. And again, it's because
Make plays.
he's made plays. And yeah, it's a fun offense. And I know you had this on your notes as well. Like the O-line was great. Like Spencer Brown, like great contract. You give it to him at the perfect time.
He hasn't given up a pressure yet this season.
Yeah,
We had Next Gen Stats said that 3 games, 35 snaps, no pressures allowed. That's sick. Back to Josh real quick. I saw another fun stat. I had to double check this because it almost didn't fit a reel. Monday night, Josh Allen was 19 for 19 on passes that were between 0 and 19 yards. And mind you, again, these weren't all just dump offs. He found Kincaid in the back of the end zone. A perfect pass to Keon Coleman. All I did there might have been for more than 24 yards. That throw off his back foot to Ty Johnson near the end of the first half. I mean, these weren't all just like little dump offs for 2 yards either. But yeah, he just deadly. 19 for 19. Literally not an incompletion on a pass that was thrown for less than 20 yards for an entire football game. That's incredible. Last thing about Josh too that really encourages me, when I was doing our kind of game preview and predictions last week, I was concerned about his hand. And what I saw on the field Monday night tells me that he might still be bothered with the finger or something like that, but it's nothing significant because he ran the football aggressively a couple times and slid smartly, but he also did that tush push. You ain't doing that if you're worried about breaking your hand, if you're your franchise quarterback, on 4th and inches or whatever that was. So that tells me that he's not limited. I mean, he hands off the ball a little funny, a couple backhanded.
That was those were weird things. Like, did they ask him about that? Like, because that was like unorthodox. I was like, it was interesting. Like, I was like, is that by design?
But no limitations with this game. Like, there were limitations against Miami. He was not there. There was no tush pushing going on. There was no scrambling. He did it once. He got right down. He ran for a big 3rd down conversion against Jacksonville. So there was no limitations with his legs. And you kind of glossed over the offensive line. Last point about the offense too, man. This offensive line has been really, really good. And now I'm starting to understand a lot of the praise they get nationally. It's starting to like be warranted. I get it now. Josh Allen, as great as he is, he's only been sacked twice this year. And yeah, he evades some sacks a couple times a game, but there were so many times on Monday and last week against Miami where he had an eternity in the pocket to sit there and go to his 2nd, 3rd, or 4th read. This offensive line, at least pass blocking wise, has been incredible through 3 weeks.
It's also about scheme, because now you're doing a lot more short passes in terms of that, like
keeping
10 yards.
Teams on their toes. It's a good point.
And that's I always remember, they're doing a death by 1,000 paper cuts right now with the passing game, and it reminds me a little bit of Drew Brees. And Drew Brees is the 2nd all-time leading passer in league history. And you watch his highlights, that's not a guy who goes over the top. He's not a 50-yard, 60-yard guy. He is a guy that's like 10, 15 yards, and he'd get the ball out fast. And it didn't matter. I always remember, like, he never got sacked, and like the highest rated, like, drafted offensive lineman they had once, the Saints, this is like 2000s, 2010s, whatever, was like a 3rd rounder, and it's because like you get the ball out fast. I think Joe B had something in his column where Allen only had the ball for like 2.5 seconds in the pocket or something like that, where he was getting it out pretty fast. And that's what happens when you have a shorter passing game and you're not waiting. You're not waiting for Gabe Davis to do a fucking 40-yard fly pattern or whatever the hell you want to call it.
They're playing man. They got 2 good ends with a pass rush. Eric Armstead as well. By the way, did Eric Armstead, remember him last year? He was the guy the Bills signed for like 2 minutes. Diana Ruzzini reported that the Bills were signing him, and then he didn't sign, and he ended up going to Jacksonville. I don't even know if you remember that.
I must have been sick that day. I don't remember, but he's
a good player, but he was completely invisible, just like Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen were in this game. Trayvon Walker's best contribution to the game was an inside crack on the extra point that Jacksonville ended up blocking. That was his big contribution to this game. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna take a real quick break. On the video side, I mean, like literally 3 seconds to be back. Talk about plenty more good. By the way, when you blow a team out by 37 points, whose season felt like it was on the line for them, there's not gonna be a lot of bad and ugly. Couple things though, and we will get to some of those as well after this real quick break. All right, I am back here with Joe from Queens, and we are going over the good, the bad, and the ugly. We haven't really gotten anything good or bad, I should say, or ugly.
Yeah. One thing I gotta mention real quick, because someone had mentioned this to me on Twitter. Edward Snyder over at Snide0208. He wanted me to get to the bottom of Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter being Bills fans all of a sudden. Did you see that? I know you were sick.
I did. I actually asked, but I don't know the answer to that. A couple of people said that maybe because they were both Raptors and Toronto's close to the Bills, and that could be it. Somebody else mentioned Sal Capaccio on his show, talked about they might have a relationship with the new CEO who was with the Charlotte Hornets at the time, that could be the connection.
Yeah, maybe. Or
between them. Or it could be, look, Josh Allen is just becoming that guy, man. He's becoming a star beyond just this fan base. And you know how it is. There's some athletes like Aaron Judge right now. You don't got to be a Yankees fan to like Aaron Judge, or Ohtani with the Dodgers. You know, you're like, yo, this dude's dope. I'm a Dodgers fan because that's where Ohtani is. You know, it could be any of those things. I was wondering about that myself, though.
Yeah, well, it's definitely very cool that those guys were there. I mean, I remember them as a teenager.
Oh, I love
early
Vince
20s.
Carter,
Vince Carter, McGrady, one of the bigger what ifs in terms of like if they had stuck together in Toronto, because they were just awesome together. So
awesome. A couple shout outs here real quick. Nick Page says, Pat, I'm going to be honest, I'm really happy you're okay. I was really worried about you since you hadn't posted yet. Yeah, like I said, some people didn't follow me on social media. You want to know. I appreciate that. Hey, man, be nicer. Mazvid, shit, I'm late. YouTube didn't notify me. All right, rewind back to the beginning. Get well soon. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Now got a couple hundred people here on the live video side. Anyway, all right. So again, we're still going over the good, the bad, the ugly, and we haven't really gotten any bad or any ugly yet. I will say, man, this guy might be I keep calling him underrated, but it's getting to a point where he's got to start getting rated. And I'm talking about Christian Bedford. This dude is lockdown city. 3 targets in this game. And look, man, you're going against Kirk and Gabe. You got to feel like he's going to be tested. No, 3 targets. He gave up 1 catch for 1 yard. He was shut down city last week in Miami. He's been shut down city all year. He's in the top 10 and all kinds of analytical stats on PFF and shit like that. This dude is becoming what Trey White was when Trey White was an all-pro caliber player. He's not going to get a lot of interceptions. He's already got 1 this year. He got 1 in Miami, but he might only get 2 or 3 picks for the year. But you know what? He's taking a side of the football field away because dudes ain't even thrown at him. And the Bills ain't played jump quarterbacks, by the way. Not the best of the best, but they've played Kyler Murray and Tua and Trevor Lawrence. Those guys could throw the football. And Christian Benford is saying, nah, you're not going to my side of the field. This dude is becoming, again, all-pro caliber Trey White right now to me. He's great.
Yeah, he's a guy like, last year I wasn't really.
Oh, that took a lot out of me, buddy.
Now take a break.
Sympathy points. Now go ahead.
Sympathy points. He's a guy last year that when he's been starting kind of since day one, and it was kind of like I'm like, why is this guy starting? Like, I'm going back to like 2022, and I'm like, why is he starting? Why isn't Elam starting over him? And then gradually he's gotten better, and he's gotten, and it's clicked like majorly this year. I clicked last year too, but like this year, he's just a guy that like he makes plays and you don't throw it at him, but he's also great in like run support. Like he's a physical, player. I don't want to say Antoine Winfield-esque, but it kind of feels a little bit of that. Like where like he'll take you out. Like
that's not a great comparison, actually.
Oh, thanks. I'm a genius. But yeah, I'm a historian over here. But yeah, that's
a great comparison.
Yeah, he's very physical. Yeah, you could steal it. I won't call you out when you tweet it out.
Yes, you will.
But nah, I don't follow you. Remember that. But I definitely feel like he's a little bit of that. But he's been great. They gotta, that secondary right now. Off the top of my head, it's pretty cheap in terms of everyone. No one's making a lot of money. There's no Jordan Poyer, there's no Trey White back there, or Micah Hyde making like the legit money they used to make. That's a guy who needs to get paid. Like you need to start putting money in that secondary.
He's going to get paid.
Yeah, you need to start working that extension now before it goes through the roof. I mean, it's going to go through the roof, but like, give him whatever Trey White got 4 years ago and put 20% interest on it or something, or whatever the fuck it is. But yeah, he's been great. He's
it's to have that number 1 corner on you and and to play like that and just have that confidence that he's going to take away. I don't say a player because he's playing on whatever side. He play a lot of zone the Bills, but he just plays that position so freaking well. Russell Douglas is good. Christian Benford has been great.
It's Clements and Winfield from back in the day. Like I see a little bit of Clements and Douglas a little bit, like a very aggressive playmaker.
This could be the best Bills combination since Winfield and Nate Clements. I mean, Trey White was an all-pro caliber, but he always had Levi Wallace, Dane Jackson, etc. Both these guys. I mean, Russell Douglas is no joke. So Clements was kind of a playmaker who got beat. Dude, you might be having your best podcast ever.
Well, it's because I'm the star because you're dead.
That is actually another great comparison because Russell Douglas is kind of like that. He'll get beat. He'll frustrate you, but he'll also get that pick six. That's what Clemens does. And Antoine Winfield didn't really do that, but he never got beat, and he was a sticky corner, and he was a hell of a physical player, and that's exactly what Benford is, man.
I would say Gilmore Darby was really good in 2014-esque 15. They were really good. But yes, like they're this is a very good combo right now.
Sure.
For them.
Yeah, and the defensive line is playing really good. Again, they had 5 sacks. Well, not just the defensive line, but as a defense, they had 5 sacks, highlighted by Von Miller, who had a 4th down sack. He's had a sack in all 3 weeks so far this season. That speed is there. That juice is there. I've talked about it. I think he was embarrassed about how he looked last year, and he's been on a mission this entire offseason, and it's really paying off. And the way he chased down isn't even just a sack. It said it was a 4th down sack, and he chased down Lawrence, brought him down, and then he sprinted. He was so excited that he sprinted all the way down the opposite end of the field like the DB usually does when they pick off a pass. You could just tell. Again, that's going back to the passion, the energy, playing like kids playing a sport right now, mentality that the Bills have. For the first time first time this year with Von Miller. I actually went sometime on a Tuesday afternoon. I went on over the cap, and I'm like, what's this dude's salary cap number next year? How could the Bills potentially maybe restructure him or whatever so that maybe this isn't automatically his last year? It was a foregone conclusion before this season that Vaughn was one more and done. And that still could be the case because they got some good young guys too now. But man, oh man, dude, you got a guy who's closing you out like this and he's still playing with that speed. I'm not so sure to, maybe try to find. I mean, that's a long ways away. The point that I'm even snooping around the possibility right now tells you how good this guy's playing so far.
Yeah, I've been wrong a lot so far this year in terms of what my preseason,
you're not the only one, though, to be fair.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
But most people are watching and enjoying this. If they were being biased or unbiased and objective with their own selves, they'd have a lot of the same conclusions we are.
Sure. The biggest thing I don't, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, whatever. The biggest thing I was wrong about was Vaughn. Like, I thought he was done. I was like, there's no way a guy at 35 is coming back from 2 ACLs. It's over. Like, he's, it's over. Go get that GM hat and be Brandon Bean's apprentice or something like he wants to do. But he's been awesome. The speed is there. Yeah, and he is making it very tough on the opposing quarterback, especially on the edge with him and Rousseau. And I was thinking about this today, and actually, I'll wait till I'll bring this up later. But the 1-2 punch of him and Rousseau it's the best it's been with Allen. Like in terms of with Josh Allen being there, where you have 2 really great edge rushers that are coming into their own. Like Rousseau wasn't nearly as good now as he was in 2022 when Vaughn just got here. And that's something they have that's different than what they've had with Josh Allen and McDermott, is a great edge, 1-2 punch on the edge with those 2 guys. And, good for Vaughn in terms of what he's doing. Like that's if he keeps this up, it's a hell of a comeback. Like I can't recall like any guy, like I said, like we've talked about Trey White and how Trey White for the most part hasn't really come back yet. And maybe he does in a year or two, from injuries. I think about going back into the Wayback Machine, Takeo Spikes, Sam Cowher, guys who blew out their ACLs, never the same afterwards. It was over. And that's kind of why I was like, oh, Vaughn's done, because he's on the way wrong side of 30 than those guys were. And look how
35.
Yeah, he's on the way. Yeah, he's no spring chicken, but he's been playing great.
I got to be honest with you, though, man. It's a little bit of a slippery slope. And I know this might be controversial. Oh, well, it's he's not the easiest person to root for because of some off-field transgressions over the last couple of years. I mean, let's be honest here. A lot of people are, willing to forget that shit when it's their own team. You know what I mean? That the player has had some shit go down, but whatever. The law's the law, and what was said legally is said legally. So let's just stick with football. I don't have the energy to go in that direction, but you get what I'm saying, man. But it's certainly good for the Buffalo Bills for sure. All right, so it wasn't to play the game because the Bills were going to kick ass no matter what. But the Damar Hamlin interception, okay, it's good. It was a bad pass from Trevor Lawrence, okay? Damar Hamlin didn't make a great play on the ball. He didn't, jump a route or anything like that. It was a literal gift. That said, the electricity in the crowd when that happened, hell, even watching it at home, you could feel it. That moment for him was very special, and let's not take away from what he has went through, okay, to get back to this point. Not just playing football again, but starting for a very good football team on Monday Night Football. It feels like if the Damar Hamlin story, the movie was being made over these last couple of years, this might have been the final climatic scene, him getting that interception in primetime on football, the crowd going crazy, his teammates jumping all over him, the love signs all over the stadium and shit like that. It was a really cool, surreal moment. And again, at the risk of sounding really cheesy, I kind of got the feels a little bit. Again, this is a good look. He's a good dude. You know what I mean? He's a good person, and he's worked his ass off. I don't know. I'm kind of balancing that between being Jesus Christ. It was a gift, man. He was probably 15 yards behind the guy because the guy probably.
No, look, it was a good play. Like what?
But it wasn't a great play. It was a great moment.
Yes, it was a great moment.
Loved it. It was electric.
There's a part of me that wants to make like a Jon Snow joke, like not since Jon Snow came back from the dead, because he was clinically dead and like he's come back.
I think it's been long enough. I think if you do it in decent taste, I think it's been long enough.
I'm just saying, like he's Jon Snow coming back over here, and making plays. But yeah, it was great, and you can. When I watched that live, I was like, I'm like, oh, interception. I'm like, holy shit, it's Hamlin. And I was like,
I didn't know it was his first thing of his career either, man.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That was like, I mean, obviously winning the Super Bowl would be the ultimate climatic ending, but I feel like the movie could end right now today, and you'd have one hell of a Hollywood story. And speaking of the home field, by the way, I have to point this out. That home field advantage was a real thing last night. I've talked to a handful of people who were at that game, and they said that's one of the more electric atmospheres that they've ever been in. That place was loud as hell. You mentioned that Mr. Brightside. That might be a new sing-along in the fourth quarter thing. Did you see the spaghetti dude?
Yeah.
A guy came in. If you're watching or listening, some guy came in somehow in a clear plastic bag, brought his own spaghetti, and was eating it at his seat. That's a brilliant OG move. Unfortunately, though, I guarantee because of how much shine that guy's getting, they're probably going to change policy, and they're not going to let people do that shit anymore. So publicity is going to probably kill that going forward, where you're able to bring in your own food like that.
Well, he hit it, though. I'm assuming he hit it like in his pants or something like that.
Yeah, I know a girl actually. I saw it on a little video on Twitter.
Oh, I saw
she
that
lifted up her bra, and she had a piece of pizza and saran wrap, and she brought that in.
It's the strangest thing.
Is it the adventure more than the fact that, hey, I'm not spending $10 to get a bite to eat? Is it more just the adventure of doing something like that?
It's the price. Like, fuck that. The prices at games. It's terrible for food. No. I will say this, though. I don't know if you're friends with Bill's Elvis since you pander to everyone, but I don't get how Bill's Elvis can bring a guitar to the games, but my wife can't bring like a purse to the game unless it's cleared and then all that. But he can bring a guitar, which I don't get. Like, it's a fucking guitar, but
that is funny.
He must know. I don't know, people in high places there.
One last thing too, I want to make sure before we get to a couple of like bad and like nitpicky bad, admittedly. I thought the broadcast was great on ESPN last night. John Fina, they showed John Fina out there, which guy, I mean, I've gotten to know John pretty well now over the last couple of years. Pandering. I know how excited he pandering. Yep. Yeah. How excited he was out there. He did an awesome job. Dude, they showed him on ESPN. That crowd was riled up. John's a fiery dude. So that crowd's, fired up. They showed that. But what was really cool, too, was they cut to right after Fina. they cut to Laura Aldridge from ESPN interviewing Vaughn. I don't know if you saw this right before the game started. Anyway, they were interviewing Vaughn right in the tunnel, literally right before his name got introduced and he got called out. So as soon as the interview was over, they called Vaughn Miller because he was introduced, the starters were introduced, and he came running out. It was like wrestling when you have a backstage promo and then the second that promo's over,
and they follow
and you go right out. It was like
that's awesome. I gotta watch that.
I've never seen that before. Yeah, that was awesome. And I thought Dan Orlovsky and Louis Riddick were both really, really good, man. I think they're very smart. God, I think they're better than a lot of the big names like Collinsworth, that schmuck, and some of these other people. I'd love to see them do more games. Now, maybe it's a lot more fun to listen to them when your team is the one that's putting the whooping on someone else. But I thought the broadcast overall was great. Yeah, man, you got to go back and watch that Vaughn interview. It's just
I gotta watch that.
You'll instantly think WWE. If you don't watch wrestling, and maybe that didn't mean anything to you, but you would.
Yeah, I didn't really listen too much to the announcers, to be honest with you. I don't when I'm watching games. I'm usually watching and kind of tweeting and all that. But I mean, Ostrowski's always been a big Bills guy. You know, he's an X's and O's guy. He loves Josh Allen. Louis Riddick's been a big, he played for the Bills, I guess, back in the 80s. But they got their little like Buffalo connection. I'll have to watch. I haven't rewatched the game. Usually I do the condensed version so I can kind of I haven't had time today, but yeah, it was I'm glad you liked it. Like I don't have anything to add, but yeah, I got to go check out that intro. But yeah, it was a perfect night and it was a good blowout and the game was over and shit. As I said, like I have no notes in terms of like nitpicking. And I know we'll
I got a couple things. Things, nothing major, but
go into it.
Something to keep an eye on, and I know it's been talked about a lot, but Keon Coleman did not play in the first quarter. By the way, well, I'm sure everybody knows this by now. So he got suspended for the first quarter because of not being on time. He didn't say specifically what from practice.
Benched, I would say. Not
benched. All right, benched. All right. He did not play a snap in the first quarter. He did, make the most of an opportunity. He caught his first career touchdown, a really gorgeous route, nice throw from Josh, nice catch from Keon. So all's well that ends well for now with that. But did you even notice that he didn't play in the first quarter? I did, and I was wondering right off the bat. I'm like, something ain't right here. After he didn't play on the first drive, I get it because they were just humming, but they didn't come on and play on the second drive either. Not even one snap. I'm like, something's up. So, I mean, you're just 3 games in and you're already missing a quarter of football. That's not good. Hopefully, being young and he's a smart kid and he'll get the message. But
yeah, I wonder how many.
Anyway,
I really wonder how many times he's been late. Because I remember when I saw this, the first thing I thought of was Marcel Darius. Do you remember like the preseason that under McDermott, the first one here?
Sort of.
Darius was late to the preseason game and McDermott benched him. And then that was like the beginning of the end with him and like McDermott. And like Darius was known for coming to the meetings late. Like I think someone had like he's been in the meetings like 50 times he was late or something like that. And that was that's kind of what I thought of right away. Not saying he's Darius or whatever, but that was like that's the last time I remember like someone getting benched for being tardy.
It's something not worry about, but it's something that's
Well, it's interesting because like, a couple things like I talked about this with you offline. Like there was in the off season, or not in the off season, in August, like during a press conference, John Scott asked him about the yellow jacket. Like if I'm paraphrasing it here, so it was kind of like, are you, going to be serious? Like are you serious about like playing? And he took that very as like an insult a little bit, like because it's like you guys made the big deal about the yellow jacket and then like the Macy's jacket, and then like his agent tweeted out like he threw shade at John's question and like oh, this is what they've made for him, this is their perception of him, he's more serious. And then I was listening to like Sal Mariana and Adam Benini's podcast, and after the first game they were talking about how he wasn't there to take questions, and I don't know if he's talked since then. He's mentioned that, so I don't know, like everyone knows I don't give a shit if you don't talk or not, but it's definitely interesting how this thing has started to kind of, there's a little bit of a pattern. Again, I don't care. Obviously I care, like I want you to play, but obviously I don't care about the media stuff. But it's interesting that how that's kind of, it's been an interesting month in terms of that. But
sure,
he had that touchdown and they wanted to send a message. I mean, look, they're not going to trade him or anything like that. I don't think
I'm glad he caught the touchdown this game. Like if he would have had the touchdown last week, and then he got benched this game and didn't do shit this game, I'd be a little more concerned. But I think the fact that he got to feel, the euphoria of making that first big play in your own home stadium, that maybe if he's, if he was being a little stupid with this clock,
I'd just like to know
he
like
won't
how many.
do something like that again.
I want to know how many times it's been late because McDermott strikes me as a bit of I don't want to say dictator, but yes, a dictator. Like he's very anal about the attention to details,
especially with probably rookies more so than a veteran.
Like,
this guy hasn't earned the right to dick around and be 10 minutes.
Is he Tom Coughlin with like you got to be here 5 minutes early to be on time or whatever? And I have no idea, but I'm sure like someone like Tim Graham, maybe they'll get to the bottom of how many times has this guy been late? Like, is it a 1-time thing, a 20-time thing? I don't, effing know. But
I would say the other thing I would put in the bad column is God is being nitpicky and so bad because he's a backup nickel back and he's played overall really good this year. But Cam Lewis kind of got Christian Kirk got the better of him a little bit. Christian Kirk's a really good receiver. Like Cam Lewis was targeted. I saw the PFF data. It was like 10 targets, gave up like 9 catches for about 100 yards. So that's not great. He's playing for Teron Johnson. What's also not great is that Teron Johnson and Terrell Bernard have both already been ruled out for this coming game on Sunday. That's about it, though, man. And then I would say this, too. ESPN, I just praise their broadcast. For the most part, I really did like it. But I was really annoyed that they didn't show the replay of the blocked extra points. I saw what happened watching it back today, which, by the way, if you don't know this, basically, they just had a lineman crash in between Reed Ferguson and Grable, the backup guard, who, by the way, got hurt. He's going to be out for a while. And then another guy kind of wedged in between them and got a hand on it. It was not a Tyler Bass fault, I don't think. It was just a line not protecting enough. But anyway, that and then the NFL. With these 2 fucking games on split screens. Like, I don't want to watch.
Like,
I
no
don't
one
want to watch
cared.
Washington driving in the red zone against Cincinnati.
It was fucking stupid. I was just like, that's
annoying.
Like,
don't have 2 games on Monday night. That's just stupid. And they're doing it again this coming week too.
Yeah. Look, if they want to have like, how do I feel about it? I don't know what the perfect, like, I didn't mind when they used to do the opener, which was like 7 and 10. I didn't really mind that. Remember when they did that a couple different times for the opener?
Yeah.
Like the West Coast had a 10 o'clock game. And, I was kind of like, maybe you can tinker that. Like maybe you could start a game at 6:30 and then like have it at 9:30. And I don't know. I didn't mind that, but yeah, them crossing over doesn't make sense.
It was annoying. And there were a couple times where in the red zone too, the Bills, or I should say Jacksonville's in the red zone a couple times. I'm yelling at the TV. It was really
no, it was fucking annoying. It was like, stop it. Like, yeah, you're right. Like if you want to cut, like, I'll meet them a little halfway. Like if you want to cut to the other game through the split screen when like there's nothing happening, it's a timeout, or we're showing Bill's fucking Elvis on the other screen. Like, fine. Not when you're about to fucking score a touchdown, idiots. But I agree with that.
What's up with you and Bill Elvis, man? That's my guy.
I just like. Oh, so now you're friends. I asked if you were friends with him. I'm just curious.
I'm not friends with him, man. I just he's
an old school. He's like he's on the
character in the Bills Mafia, man. But
he's on this. He's been around since like 93. I kind of remember in the comeback game, like seeing the NFL films of like do the right. His
hair was a little bit darker back.
Yeah, he was definitely. No, I'm not. I don't know much about him, but I just wanted to. I still don't get how he can get in with like a fucking guitar.
Yeah, that is pretty wild.
Doesn't make any sense to me. I just want to know the answers. I want to know like who
he's
does he know.
He's a celebrity at the security gate. I really want to know if people are going to be able to continue. If they're all right, you're right. So they sneak in the spaghetti. Whether they sneak it in or whether they bring it in, are they going to start being a little more frisky when it comes? I mean, down people, not for weapons, not for alcohol, but for food, for spaghetti, man, or a slice of pizza.
We'll see what happens with that new stadium. I'll tell you that much because they're going to want you to spend money in that stadium.
Oh,
and they may have like a futuristic like Total Recall technology where they can see right through your freaking clothes at this point, so they can see if you have gum and they'll be like, you can't bring gum in. So, but
yeah, Sean Ryder commented, "Said do a red zone esque thing on ESPN too." Yeah, man. If you want to,
sure, like
it out or whatever, go to a channel where you can watch both games on a split screen or something like that. Because ESPN pretty much
a good call.
Add to both. That's actually a really good point. All right, before we get out of here, this has pretty much been a love letter to the Bills so far through 3 weeks. Because to be fair, they've earned it, man. I'm
going to turn heel in a minute.
So they've exceeded most people's expectations so far this season, and there's a lot to love. Led by a quarterback who, without question, through the first 3 weeks anyway, has been the MVP front runner. He's played nearly flawless. Okay. That said, a brutal stretch coming up, and it's still a long season. The Bills, this stat concerns me a little bit for a specific reason. I saw it today. The Bills are number 1 in DVOA, which I don't even know what the fuck that means, but I know it's a fancy metric. Okay. They're number 1 after 3 weeks this year. But they were also
Aaron Quinn's never going to come on this podcast because you don't know what DVOA is.
They're also number 1 for the last 3 years in a row, and then they were in the top 6 the 2 years before that. So after 3 weeks, being number 1 in DVOA is nothing new to this team, and they've fallen back some in recent years. It's a long season, a tough stretch coming up right now. What's a concern or two of yours right now going forward about this team? I don't know if ours are going to intertwine or not. I got a couple as well, but I'll give the floor to you.
I'm going to take your heat a little bit because I should have been the host, but I want to ask you this.
Okay.
I've been thinking about it. You should clip this. This is going to be your tease for your Twitter thing. This is not the first time the Bills have been dominant in September. In fact, they do this all the time. It feels like since 2019, even they have been really good in September.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this when I was walking my baby this morning at like 8 a.m. or so. And I was like, what makes this season different so far? And again, aside from, yes, it's too early to assess that. Totally right. But for shits and giggles sake,
okay,
what makes this different than the last 5 Septembers where it's going to matter down the road? Because they've been great in September. This has been their MO. Is
this your question for me?
Yeah, that's my question for you. What makes them different this year than because in 2022, I remember drinking that Kool-Aid after 2-3 weeks, and I was like, this team's kicking ass. They killed the Rams, who were a Super Bowl contender or Super Bowl champions. They killed Tennessee, who was the number 1 seed the year before, and I was like, where is everyone? And then they ended up beating the freaking Chiefs a couple weeks later, and they were on fire. And then I was like, this, and then
I'm on fire right now.
Yeah, you're on fire now.
I'm sweating. I'm
sweating. I'm trying to make this quick for you. But
no, it's a good question.
But what makes it for you different than the other seasons in the past? 2
things. One, I think Josh Allen has put it together mentally, which I think in the past he would revert to hero ball quickly. Sure. I think at some point in a sport, if you're one of the true greats, you kind of master, you've seen everything. Tom Brady I'm not comparing Josh Allen to Tom Brady's success, but Tom Brady got to a point where he knew everything. Everything that was coming at him, he's seen it. He figured it all out. So one, I would say, I think Josh Allen has mentally figured everything out. So far. And then 2, I really believe in the coaching of this team right now more than I have in the past. Bobby Babich is a great coordinator. They're getting guys like Spector and Dorian Williams and Cam Lewis and even so safeties like Rapp and Hamlin to be non-factors almost quietly. And then Sean McDermott just got this team playing with confidence and energy and some cohesiveness, which makes me wonder was this locker room over the last couple of years really as strong as we always thought? Now, maybe it was. I don't know. So maybe I'm going too far with that take. But I believe in Josh Allen's mental approach right now, and I believe in the coaching of this team that they're just getting the most out of players. I thought their depth was going to suck this year. I'm like,
sure.
You kidding me? It's week 3. You got Ingram out there. You got Spector. You got Dorian Williams. You got DeMar Hamlin starting. Like, what are we doing here? This is going to be a team that wins 6-7 games. And look at them right now. They got the most points in the league, and they're number 1 right now on every power ranking, by the way.
Yeah,
everyone, just about everyone. Anyway,
I mean, but they were number 1 in 2022 and 2021. They were. This is and that's where
They were about star power then, though. I feel like it was about star power, whereas this feels different in that way. This isn't about star power, other than the quarterback.
There is, and it makes a whole lot of the vibes being better if you didn't expect this, and I did not expect them to be 3-0. I thought they would be 2-1. To be frank, after 3 when I was going through the schedule in August. I will say that what feels different, and again, aside from it's too late to really assess this, but James Cook has been really good for them. They have not had an all-purpose back like him at all, in my opinion, since Josh Allen got good. I like Devin Singletary. He's a nice player. He never was an all-purpose guy. They also weren't very committed to him like they are to Cook. That feels different.
Yeah.
And what I angled at earlier, Rousseau Von Miller, they have not had a 1-2 punch on the edge that has been that good to take out other teams in terms of their quarterbacks and et cetera. Now, those are how I feel different. With that being said, I'm not all the way in terms of Super Bowl windows here. Like, I'm not there yet. And the reason why is a few things. One, these three teams they beat, I'm not exactly enthralled with them. Like, they got 2 wins between the 3 teams right now. No one's above 5. It's early, but like, come on. Like, Miami, it was just out of it. Jacksonville sucked. This is me turning heel. The Cardinals, I saw last week when they beat the Rams, everyone was like, they could be better than we thought. I was like, the Rams kind of suck. Like, they lost their best defensive player over here. And it's like, let's relax a little bit there. But they beating, like, these 3 teams have not been great. The next 2 weeks are teams that going into the season, really? I said 3. Well, I would say like the Jets. I know the Jets are coming up, but the next 2 weeks, I thought the Ravens and I thought the Texans were better than the Bills. Like in August, like before the season, I was like, those teams are better.
Sure,
beat those teams, or I don't even need like go 1-1 or be very like competitive, and because I have doubts about Baltimore or beating Baltimore. Baltimore to me is a bad matchup. They can run the football. It's kind of it worries me a little bit, with them, and they're like, they could easily be 3-0 right now because they lost that Chiefs game. Or no, what did they? Oh wait, they're 0-2.
Or 1-2. They could.
You're right. What am I fucking saying?
They blew a lead at home against the Raiders.
You're right. You're right.
Vulnerable. I'm a jackass. I agree about the matchup problem. Yeah, I think you're 100% right about them being
like they worry me with matchup. Running the football. Maybe I got nightmares of Derrick Henry with the Titans still, but like,
sure.
And then you have the Texans. Like, these are 2 teams heading into the season that I thought you were below them. If you beat them, and then you beat them somehow, or you come close, or you go 1-1, whatever, I will start feeling like the Super Bowl window. Like, I was so far. Hey, I had them at 9-8, 10-7. They look a lot better than that, obviously, but that to me will make it feel a little bit different than the last, like, because then you're getting you get those 2 games. Because again, they beat the shit out of some 2 teams, like a couple, like 2 teams 2 straight weeks who just were not. I mean, hey, it could have been them, and it's still early to assess, like, in terms of the talent level and all that, if they're really good or not, or they're bad. But they whip their asses. But these next 2, those teams that they're about to play are very, I think, are very good, and that's when. You do that, I do a mea culpa and go, I was completely wrong. I'm still like, I need a bigger sample size for me to then, completely become a cover 1 henchman and be like, they're great. And like, sign me up for the whole packages and shit.
It's very fair. You can argue that they've played teams so far, at least the last 2 games, that were good on paper in the summer, but have woefully underachieved. Miami and Jacksonville. Yeah. But again, both teams that were allegedly desperate for a win when they played the Bills didn't even come close to getting it done. I got 2 worries. Number 1, major injuries have not meant a thing to this team through 2 weeks. Somehow, it's going to at some point, man. Terrell Bernard and Teron Johnson are both out for at least this week. I talked about it a little bit earlier. Cam Lewis has played admirably with Johnson out, but Baltimore, man, you're gonna have Zay Flowers in the slot. You got, you're gonna have to be able to be. Teron Johnson's better against the run than Cam Lewis is, although Cam's been pretty good. Tight ends, they got multiple good tight ends. Sooner or later, you're gonna feel Teron Johnson and Terrell Bernard both being out, and I'm concerned about that. And I'm also worried about just during the Sean McDermott era. To me, this team has always played better when they're counted out. Like when they're the underdogs and they kind of get written off, they always seem to respond. The beginning of this year so far. Last year when they were 6-6 and Tyler Dunn wrote his article that sent the world ablaze in Bills Mafia land and shit like that. It just feels like
2021 when they were 6-6 after the Brady
they respond well. They play better that way. I'm worried that this team is going to spend a little bit too much time this week reading the headlines, buying into the hype a little bit. Like today, we're taping this on Tuesday night. Not a big deal, but like DeMar Hamlin's on the Pat McAfee show talking. I saw Deion Dawkins on the Colin Coward show.
They should be on this podcast. That's why you're
on this
angry.
podcast.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why you're heated.
I'm not saying they're not going to be focused because Sean, look, you don't go 44 games in a row without losing by more than 6 points if you're not a focused and prepared team. But you get what I'm saying, man. There's just something more special about this team when they feel like they're counted out. And now they're number one in PFF and The Athletic and ESPN and all the power rankings that I looked at today. They're number one in the league again. They tend to fall on their face a little bit more when they're the toast of the town or the toast of the league. And I got a little bit of concern about them playing as the front runners now because that's what they are right now.
Well, this, as I said before, this isn't the first time this has happened. They were ahead in the power rankings in 2022. I remember 2021 even. Like, they've been up there. Like, for what, this is not new to us. I don't know if I buy, like, maybe we'll see. Like, look, it's the way it's been for the last 5 years. Is they're awesome in September. They kind of have a lull in October, November. Then they finish strong, and then they lose in the divisional round. Hopefully that is not the case. If you want me to give you an X's and O's, what I'm worried about, look, the underneath stuff has been working. It's great. It's something that you can defend, and this is just me doing like football 101, where, all right, you're doing this high shell bullshit or whatever that everyone's talking about. Now you start bringing the safeties in, and now you're daring them to beat you deep. And I have no doubts Josh Allen could beat you fucking deep. I'm curious though to see how if the wide receivers can beat you deep. Like, is it going to be MVS? Like, is it going to be Shakir's going to like go down the field or whatever the case may be? And that's what I'm curious to see because Brady looks great. Like, this is a new offense. It's different than it was last year when he just inherited fucking Ken Dorsey's playbook or whatever. Like, the jargon, and you could call it overrated or not overrated, overused, is like defenses start catching up a little bit, or like you get guys on tape and you have to evolve and etc. I'm curious to see what happens if teams start really going, all right, we're gonna play more zone, we're gonna bring the safeties up. The stupid Jags were playing man to man, I guess, from what I read. And I was like, yeah, it's good luck with that. Like,
that ain't gonna happen. You won't see that. I don't think you'll see
Josh
another
Allen's
team play the Bills that way again. Josh will kill you.
He's killed you. He's killed them in the past. I don't know why they ran it. The Aaron Rodgers doppelganger defensive coordinator loved that for the Jags. But I want to see like how they continue to evolve and like see, once you get more paper on how that's going to work.
They gotta get some down the field pass plays at some point. They haven't yet. But at some point, they're going to need to. Look, the defense might have a shit day. They're banged up beyond words right now. That defense might get decimated. Does Josh have the patience to stay within the offense when the defense can't seem to make a stop? You feel like sooner or later that's going to happen.
Also, Dawson Knox has 2 catches this year. Come on, dude. Get a little bit more. No, I do care because he's my whipping boy. I'm sick of Bills Mafia.
I could care less. I could care less.
And all that.
Kincaid, Shakir, those guys can have 75 catches each. I don't give a shit if someone else on this roster, the next guy is 25. I don't even care. Get the ball to Shakir. Get the ball to Kincaid. I do agree about one thing. You are right, though. I will give you this.
What's that?
It's
giving me the Hogan tap on the video side.
It feels like MBS is the only guy on this roster right now who's got that vertical stretching, get down the field. You're going to have to connect with him. You're going to have to keep a defense honest because, to your point, if there's no
That's what happens.
But Josh is so good, and he's got such a great arm. You're not going to bring those safeties in too often because you just know that it's still Josh Allen back there, man.
No, and that's going to be that's going to be the interesting thing to see if people try to test that.
Last question.
Go ahead.
Last question. Then we're going to get out of here. I'm on oxygen right now.
You're on fumes.
Right. Look, maybe this is unfair, so I got to try to word this properly. Patrick Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls. Is Josh Allen the best player in football right now? I kind of feel like he is. I think God, I understand that Chiefs fans would come for me. National people would come for me if I say it.
They don't care what you have to say, but go ahead.
But I think just as physical football players, and you take all their strengths and weaknesses and attributes, and you put them, I don't know if I want to say an equal playing field or not, because it's not, because
there's an expression called, and I think I'm trying to help you here, pound for pound, the best player. Yeah. Like, like it's like pound for pound, the best boxer kind of thing. Like, maybe that's what you're looking for. I mean, right now he's playing like at an MVP level. He's the best player right now. But again, this is where the NFL is such an annoying sport to cover because it's 1 week you're the toast of the town, the next week you're burnt toast. And that's where, like,
Sure.
we have a bad Josh Allen game or they don't do much. And then it's like, well, is he really like, then it kind of simmers down a little. But right now, as of September 24th, as we're recording this, he has been the best player in the league. I would say.
I look at the Chiefs and I'm like, man, they are so unimpressively 3-0. But saw it last year too, where the offense kind of like looked shitty, and then they turned it up.
And they turned it up in the playoffs, and it was over.
Just in time.
I talked about how they reminded me of like Golden State a little bit, where like Golden State during the regular season, or even the Bulls teams, like they didn't care about the regular season. Oh, they will be the second, third string or third seed, and then they turned it on. I don't know with the Chiefs, like, that's the other thing too, that if you want me, we're going back to like the optimism or what feels different. The AFC does seem pretty wide open right now, whereas in 2020 to 2022, I think there was an easy pecking order where you were like, this team, it's the Bengals, it's the Chiefs, it's the Bills, where you had to go through those. And right now it's kind of like, who are you afraid of? Like, in terms of, I mean, I still think Baltimore is a bad matchup, but I'm not scared of them. The Texans, they got their asses handed to them by Minnesota, but it's
just a bad game. I still think,
I still think they're good. Yeah,
shit, man. They're a very, very good football team.
It's really about, for me, with them, it's about how much more it's evolving. Like, can Stroud keep it up at a high level, or evolve, or whatever the case may be. But like, they have a ton of talent.
If you could put the Bills in the AFC Championship game this coming Sunday, and you're going to get Milano, Teron Johnson, and Benford back, or Bernard back. Okay,
beautiful game.
It's the end of the season, and you can put the Bills in the AFC Championship game right now. What opponent would you least want to see the Bills? And we'll even put the game. We'll put the game in Orchard Park. I actually doesn't even matter whether it's Orchard Park or whether it's the road. I don't really think that would matter too much. But who would you least want to play in the AFC Championship right now if you're the Buffalo Bills and a Super Bowl berth is literally on the line for this next game?
The Chargers. No, I'm kidding. God, I would say that probably the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs are kind of in my head a little bit. Like,
they've done it so much. Yeah.
They've done a lot, and it's fucked up because it's like the Bills they're 3-0 in the last 3 regular season games against the Chiefs, but 0-3 in the playoffs, which is like, you can beat these idiots. Like, you've shown that, but in the playoffs you can't. If you eliminated history out of my head, I would say the Texans, because I think they have a ton of talent on that team. And like, look, the Chiefs, I think they've been like, I don't want to downplay you say that they've been unimpressive as 3-0. They played some pretty good teams. Like, Atlanta's pretty good.
They beat Baltimore. They beat
Baltimore, I still think is good, and they beat
Cincinnati. Yeah, they've played good teams.
Yeah, and the Bengals, like, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with the Bengals. Like, their defense sucks, but then, like, you could probably spin yourself like they could be 2-1, like the Bengals and all that shit. But I don't know. I will just say this: the AFC feels very, very wide open, and it doesn't scare me like it scared me 2 years ago. And I think that was a saving grace. I know I wasn't on the podcast last year, but like, that's one thing I kept thinking about all of last year is like, the AFC is not that great right now. Like, this is when the Bills can make your move. And I still kind of feel that way, although it's 3 games. And like who's taking the Steelers fucking seriously? Like, no one. Yeah, like, give me a fucking break. They'll be dead in fucking the wild card will be out, and that's it.
All right, guys, that's gonna do. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give you credit though, because that Clemens Winfield with Russell Douglas and Benford comparison is good. It's definitely gonna resonate with me. I'll probably use that on the show several times. Away. I probably won't give you credit for it. I will give you credit for it on Twitter, but
no, I don't want your credit. We don't tweet to each other. I only see you.
That's fair.
Nah, I don't want to tweet to you. I only tweet to you to troll you. Don't give me credit. I don't want credit. Trolling, fine. No credit.
Thank you for helping me get through this episode. You know me. I was going absolutely insane having to miss 2 consecutive shows.
This was like Anderson Cooper missing election night for Pat. Because he was sick. This is bad for this was.
I was physically sick Monday night after the game, and I was emotionally fucking pretty sick about not being able to do the show, especially because it was such a convincing win. But anyway, shit happens. Thank you.
Please share this and listen to this twice, 3 times, so we get good numbers and Pat feels good about himself.
Yeah. But
spam us. all that stuff.
Thank you, everybody out there, for watching this and for listening to this. Hopefully, I'll be back. If the trajectory continues, I will be back with another show, and I won't miss anymore. So hopefully, talk to you guys.
He'll have 6 guests on that will do all the talking, so he doesn't have to say shit. Bye, everyone.